everyone. Welcome to Three Themes Live. Hey, Miss Kyle.
What a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day, isn't it?
It is.
It's spring, and it's got us having all the feels for the bunnies and the chicks and the carrots.
And the little baby cows.
Yeah. And the baby cows. There you
Yes.
have it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are excited for all of it, and we have a fantastic show planned for you today
goodness.
because we have extraordinaire gardener, oh my goodness, over the top, our friend Mark Anderson here with us today. So you definitely want to stick around. You're watching Three Themes Live, where theme number 1 is something to smile about. Theme number 2 is something to learn. And theme number 3 is something to discover. Let's go. Good afternoon, everyone. I am so happy that you're here joining us on Three Themes Live. I'm Kris Thurgood here at my girlfriend's quilt shop. And you know, as we like to say around here when we talk about Three Themes Live, we always share this notion that Three Themes Live is not just about quilting, but it's about the quilter. And so we talk about so many different things that relate to all the different aspects of the quilter's life. And you know, we couldn't quite talk about spring and the carrots and the chicks and the bunnies, oh my, which has been our theme this week. We couldn't quite do it without bringing on the expert of all experts. Mark Anderson is with us today. Hello, Mark.
Great to be here with you.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
it's so great to be here with you. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
You know, Kyle and I had an opportunity to go to your stomping grounds. It's been almost a year.
It's been almost a year.
Has it
yeah.
been a year?
Yeah, that's when we had all the flowers in the greenhouse, and it was just
goodness.
it was just a fun time for spring. But this is a great time of year for us here because it's time to get outside and do some planting.
Oh
Yay.
my goodness,
Yeah.
yes.
Yay.
In fact, I said to Mark earlier, I said, okay, I've got kind of a dumb question.
There are no
because
dumb questions,
I know,
Kris.
but this is just one of those things I just don't feel very confident in. And I came to find out that I was safe because I said, when do you start? Is it too late to start planting the carrots? And you said?
It's actually a little bit too early.
It's a little too
a little bit too
early.
early. So our last frost here in our area is around the 20th of May.
Okay.
And so there's some things that we like to get planted before like that last frost of the year. And so like early on, the earliest things you can plant would be like peas, spinach, lettuce, radishes, onions, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, kale. Those can go in as soon as
In the ground?
Yeah, as soon as your soil dries out. Even if it snows or it blows or it freezes, it won't bother those at all.
Okay.
Your carrots and your beets, your potatoes, your chard, and your parsnips can handle the cold really pretty well. It has to get like down into the teens for it to freeze those, but your soil needs to be a little bit warmer. And so usually in our area, we'll wait until around Easter. Easter's a little bit late this year, but it was really early last year. So sometime in between Easter. So usually the first or middle part of April is a great time to plant your carrots. Yeah.
And
so really good time.
are you planting them in the ground at that time, or are you planting them?
Start them right in the ground.
Okay.
You can start them inside if you want, but it's really hard to transplant those little carrots
is
out.
it?
It's quite,
Tiny.
they're tiny. Yeah, they're so tiny. So what I do is I take my rake and I rake the row where I'm going to plant the carrots. And some people do them in square foot gardens, or I mean, there's a whole bunch of different ways to plant them. But I take my rake and I rake about an 8-inch wide row, and I'll do like 20 or 25 feet because I like a lot of carrots. And then I put a nice slow release fertilizer down, and you can put it right in the row with the seeds when you're planting. So as they start to grow, they'll have that nutrient right there. I hate fertilizing weeds. Do you like to fertilize weeds, Kyle? No, I don't think anybody likes to fertilize the weeds. So I put my fertilizer right down the rows. I don't put it over the entire garden. I just put it right where the plants are going to be, so then you don't have to worry about feeding your weeds.
Okay, why didn't I think about that?
Nobody ever thinks
Does
about
anyone
that.
ever think about that? That makes total sense.
I don't want to sit there and do it like this.
So a little bit of slow release fertilizer. I've got some great organic fertilizers you can put right in the row with the seeds. Won't burn them or anything.
Okay.
And then we rake it again just very lightly to kind of work it into the soil. Then I I sprinkle my seeds in. And the trick with carrots is if you plant 100 carrot seeds and you do like one every couple inches, none of them come up. But if you plant 100 carrot seeds and you just kind of put them all together, every single one of them comes up.
I was going to say, do I have
they just
to
all
just
come up. So then you have to like thin them out. Yeah.
Isn't there a life lesson here?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, don't you
Is
think?
there a life lesson?
I don't know. I think when
sure
you
there
like
is.
in the bunches together, right?
Yes, exactly.
They grow together.
But once you get those carrots spread out, and you really want to kind of put them in fairly thick, one seed every inch or so. You can do them closer if you need to. Then I put a product over the top of them. It's called coconut core. Coconut core is the exterior of the coconut. So it's not the coconut shell, it's the exterior of the coconut.
The hairy
yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
Okay.
And so they shred it, and it's very fibrous, but it holds moisture like crazy. And it kind of acts like I'll put a 1/4 of an inch over the top of my carrots, and when you water the carrots, if you don't use the coconut core, the seeds kind of like wash away because they're just very shallow. They just wash away really easy. So if you put the coconut core over the carrots, it acts kind of like a filter, and it keeps the seeds in place. It dries out very quickly on the surface, but it holds moisture like crazy on the underside. And so your carrots will germinate so much faster. Like years past, we would do carrots with like potting soil, or there's different ways you could plant the carrots. It would take 21 days for them to come up. Since I've been doing the coconut core, I can get them up in 12 days. So they're up in almost half the time with the coconut core. And then when they all start coming up, then you've got to do the worst part, and that's like thin the carrots out. Because if you don't thin the carrots out, then they kind of all grow together.
I kind of had that one
and
year.
they get twisted and they do funny
They look
things.
really cute.
They've got to have space. They do look cute.
They make
do look cute.
I have
funny
a picture
pictures.
of one that was hugging.
But they've got to have space to grow. If the carrots don't have about 1 inch to 1.5 inches between each carrot, then they're never going to get big at that point.
Space to grow.
So once I put my coconut core down,
Where do you get that?
I've got the coconut core at Anderson
Imagine
Seed.
that.
It comes in a brick, and it's like
brick?
it's like dehydrated.
We don't have to shred our own carrot or
No, you don't have to
coconuts
shred
or
your own
anything?
coconuts.
Okay,
No,
good.
and you put like a small brick in a gallon of water, and it will absorb the entire amount up. So it's very absorbent. So it's just like it just sucks up all the
Do
water.
you use that with other plants as well?
Oh, I do it with all my really small seeds
Okay.
because it's great to hold the seeds in place, but it's the best at holding the moisture. And the key to get a lot of those small seeds to germinate is making sure they stay damp all the time. And if you don't put a product like the coconut core over them, you have to water them every day and they just wash away. But if the coconut core is there, you don't even have to water them every day. I water like every 4 or 5 days because the
that.
coconut core holds the moisture so
need a
well.
pen.
So
Oh my goodness. It's like I want to just hurry and write all this information down. There's so much.
Instead of watering with just water, though, I use a combination of a root stimulator and a seed starter mix. And so I mix those together, and then I water the carrots with them. And I'll water them with that for the first 2 or 3 waterings. Then all of a sudden, my carrots are popping up like crazy.
Okay, I got a
Yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah.
You come to a class at my house, and we'll do all that.
We do classes all the time for people. So
At Kyle's
tons
house?
of classes.
At my house, though.
Yeah, but I could do one at your house.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll write
that's a
that down.
possibility.
I got
I'll
that
make
on
sure and put
camera.
it into my schedule.
Okay, yeah, a very, very busy man for sure. We've got
no
a question
kidding.
in the comments. Linda's asking, can you put the thin carrots in a salad?
You could, but usually when you're thinning them, they're kind of small. I
Okay.
mean, so they're really tiny.
They don't have
And
any
so
flavor?
Dad always said it's like the carrots would come up like hair on a dog's back, if you plant them thick. And so they're like really, really thick. And the worst part of growing carrots is thinning them out
Yes,
because they're
that
so
feels
hard
so
to get them to come
bad.
up in the first place.
Yeah.
But those little fine carrot tops, they're absolutely edible, but sometimes they can be a little bit bitter. They're not really sweet once they get going. So absolutely try it. See if you like
Well,
it.
okay,
If
Linda,
you don't,
there you have it.
Don't do it.
What other
yeah.
questions do you guys have? Let us know in the comments. And also in the comments, why don't you tell us where you're joining us from? What part of the country are you joining us from? Because I'm going to pick a few of different places. I'm going to ask Mark, I'll put you on the spot, and tell us when, about that time of year, should you be working on planting that garden?
We can absolutely try. So
We can
yeah, 'cause-
definitely
And there's
try.
zones.
Okay.
Do you do it by zones?
Kind of. It's like my kids live in Arizona, and it was 95 degrees the other day.
Yeah.
So it's like it just depends on where you live in the
You know
country
what, that's so
when you
true.
start. So it's like they're starting their carrots and a lot of their early crops in September and October, so that they're maturing when it's cooler in their weather in Arizona. So it just,
too hot
yeah, it just depends on where you're at. But you know, our snow just melted here,
Right,
so
right.
it's like we're just barely getting out and getting our early crops planted. Where even in St. George, Utah,
Yes.
they were able to plant 6 weeks ago.
Okay, so Sandy's in warm Georgia.
Okay.
Okay, so we're talking East Coast,
Yep.
down south. What is it looking like for them?
Planting time for Georgia is going to be about 2 months earlier than us. So 2 months ago, you could have planted all your early crops, but right now, if Georgia should be probably really close to their last frost date. I mean, they don't get frost very often at all, but their last frost date's probably sometime in March. People are probably planting tomatoes and peppers, squashes, melons, cucumbers, beans and corn. They're all planting that right now. So,
Okay,
yeah.
so, and Jill is asking, is there something I can plant in pots for her apartment balcony?
Vegetables or flowers? Both. You absolutely can do flowers, and a lot of people in our area are doing pansies and primroses right now because they can handle the cold, they can handle the frost, and they still look great. But for like your summertime annuals, if you're going to do petunias or marigolds or zinnias, you know, any of those traditional flowers, you can get those going in pots. If the weather gets cold, you can always bring them inside and then put them back outside when the weather's a little bit better. But for vegetables, boy, there's a lot of different vegetables that do just they grow great in planters. You know, I wouldn't do things that get too big. I wouldn't do a pumpkin. You know, pumpkins aren't going to make sense. Just go buy that at the roadside stand.
Yeah, that's very
but
true,
you know,
yes.
you can grow a gorgeous tomato in a 20-inch pot that's going to get 5 to 6 feet tall, and you're going to harvest, you know, half a bushel to a bushel of tomatoes off of it. So peppers and tomatoes do great. We've done smaller varieties of cucumbers in a planter like that. Peas, pole beans. You can do pole beans and just kind of make a ring of the pole beans around the outside of the pot, and take some stakes and just make a teepee, and just run some string around it, and the pole beans will just grab onto it and they'll just climb right up the pole. So there's a whole bunch of vegetables you can do in containers. The key is you got to make sure they have plenty of sun.
Okay.
If they're in a shady location, there really aren't any vegetables that like shade. They like full sun. They can handle, you know, a little bit of late afternoon shade, but otherwise they want pretty much full sun.
Okay, so we have some friends also on the West Coast, let's say the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
What are we looking at there?
You know, Pacific Northwest is probably about 4 weeks ahead of us, just because they're a little bit more temperate with the ocean being close.
Right.
And so, you know, we get a lot of our trees and shrubs come in from Portland and from the Washington area, and so they're usually a little bit ahead of us. So you could definitely plant your carrots, beets, potatoes, chard, and they're probably getting really close to their last frost date as well too. So at that last frost date, then you're safe to plant your tomatoes and your peppers and your beans and your corn, and then all your vines as well too. So like cucumbers and melons and squashes, those would be great.
Wow.
Yeah, those would be great.
Wow. That's a lot to think about.
You know, this
isn't
time
it?
of year we're doing fruits too. So it's
Really?
like all the fruits are starting to come in. So we're starting strawberries and raspberries can go out right now.
Yeah.
They can go out?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they can handle the cold. Blackberries, boysenberries, honeyberries, blueberries, you name it.
Yeah,
they
all
can
those.
all go right
Blackberries
now.
in my yard.
Yeah.
Do I need to go and prune them
Certain
now?
parts of the country, blackberries are weeds.
Oh,
Because they go
That's
all
true.
over the place. You go
That's
up
true.
into Washington, and they treat them like weeds because they're like all over the place, and we're still struggling to try and get them to grow at our
Struggle
house.
is the word.
So one man's weed is another man's treasure.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, as they say. So, Mark, I came across this video when I was doing a little research, and I want to show it to you because I want to get your reaction with this video, because I just thought it was so fascinating, and I know that this actually is going to probably remind you a little of something else that we were going to talk about today. So let's go ahead and take a look, because this gentleman right here, it has grown one of the largest carrots out there. Let's take a look.
Right then folks, found a bit of a crack in one of my big carrots in the barrel, which is a bit disappointed, so it gives me a bit of an excuse to pull one up anywhere. So I'll get it in. It's an absolutely huge thing, judging by the top. So we'll get in and clean a bit of sand off, a bit deeper, and try and grab hold of it and pull her out. Carrots usually come out a bit easier than parsnips. So that's it, it's come loose now. If it's not forked, I've got 8 legs, this will be a monster. Oh my god, there's a little crack. Check out the size of that bad boy. That is monstrous. Length of my barrel as well, I could have gone even longer. So there you go. Unfortunately it's got a crack in it, so it's no good for showing, but without rest or anything like that, it should be something else. So there you go. First giant long carrot of the year, and it's a belter. That's about it, folks. See you later.
Okay, so Mark, what's your reaction to that?
There's certain varieties of carrots that grow much bigger
Okay.
than others, and of course, growing them in the barrels like that, he has complete control over the soil, and that's what allows the carrot to go much deeper. Because out in your garden, even if you have somebody with a tractor come in and till your garden, it's only going to loosen that soil up, maybe 10 inches at the most. So your carrots are going to kind of be limited by how hard the soil is underneath. But with him doing them in those large barrels like that, and he's got a very loose, very light, loamy soil that's got a lot of organic matter in there, and so those carrots can just keep growing and growing and growing.
Okay, I got a question.
Yeah.
Though. If I grow a great big round carrot, is it going to be bitter?
It depends on what the soil conditions are, depends on what the weather, the temperature is, depends on the variety. So it really depends. There's a lot of factors that could involve how bitter
so
it is.
don't be afraid of tasting.
No, I wouldn't be concerned at all. There was a carrot that we used to grow many years ago, and it was called Health Master, and I haven't seen it for quite a few years. I think the company that developed it, they moved on to a different one, but it would grow as big as your forearm.
Get out.
Yeah, so we could grow them about that big, which is 16 inches or so. So
I don't want to be cutting that
those were
carrot.
really big carrots. They were very healthy, and they used them mostly for juicing. That's why it's called Health Master. It's like full of nutrition. It was a very nutritious carrot, and you could juice those. And one carrot, you'd have a gallon of juice off of it.
Chrissy says she wants that big old carrot in her salad. I'm sure.
I'm sure it's good. But if you have like that really nice deep loose soil, then you can get long carrots.
Okay.
But if your soil is kind of clay and heavy and compacted, you have a lot of rocks in there, then it's a lot harder to grow
It reminded
those.
you of who?
Oh, Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny, yeah.
Because
pull it
like
out.
the Bugs Bunny like the cartoons when we were kids,
Oh, yeah.
Bugs Bunny go out there and pull the carrots up. And,
for sure.
what's up, Doc?
Yeah, hopefully everyone knows, right? He said, I don't know if people are going to know that reference. I said, I bet most will.
We'll find out. Yeah, we'll
That's
find
so
out,
true. So speaking of big and speaking of the color orange, there's another, vegetable that we could be growing that makes a big statement on Center Street every year.
Oh yeah. So
What's that?
so the giant pumpkins.
The giant
Yeah,
pumpkins.
this is giant pumpkins.
Yes.
So we've got the Center Street Giant Pumpkin Festival, and it's like so much fun. We bring growers in from all over the Intermountain West. They come and they weigh their pumpkins right there on Center Street.
Oh my goodness.
And
That's
it's
where
just-
your store is?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just a great big party. I think last year we had 110 vendors there.
Wow.
So it was a big vendor market, and then we had 30 pumpkins that ranged from 300 pounds all the way up to 2,287 pounds.
Are you
That
kidding
was our
me?
winner last year. Was 2,287 pounds.
We're going to have to find the picture and
It
post it.
was a
Yeah.
new state record. So it was a
Oh,
new state
really?
record, and then we also broke the Idaho state record last year here in Cache Valley. So yeah,
what's the secret to growing a really large pumpkin?
a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot
Yeah.
of work. So basically you have to baby them all summer long. You're feeding them almost every single day, but those pumpkins will gain sometimes 10 pounds, 20 pounds a day.
A day?
A day
Oh,
as
So
they're
you can
growing.
see it changing.
Oh, you can actually like watch it grow. It's like if you take a picture of it, on Monday, and the next Monday you take a picture and you go, it's bigger. I mean, you
wow.
can actually physically see it. It's larger.
So when
Yeah.
do you start planting that?
So I'm going to start mine around the 10th of April.
So you
Wow.
participate.
So I grew a 650 pounder last year, which I
Yes,
thought
way
was
to go.
awesome. I was
Holy
hoping to hit
cow.
700 pounds, and I got really close. It's the first time I've ever
That's
done it.
amazing.
But once you get them planted out in the garden, I'll start mine a month before I can put them outside. And then once they get outside, you got to protect them, you got to shade them, and we're out there feeding them like every day to keep
Wow.
them happy. Yeah, but it's
Wow.
really fun to do. everybody in the neighborhood was coming to check out the pumpkin.
Well,
so.
I mean, what a great picture opportunity too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, who doesn't want their picture with the giant
with
pumpkin?
all those pumpkins there on Center Street, we had like 30 photo opportunities for everybody.
I think we have a field trip planned for next year.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we should really go to the pumpkin
It was
festival.
so much fun, and you just get to see them like lift the pumpkins up and put them on the scale and just like weigh them right there. But there's so much other
Fascinating.
stuff going on too. We had tons of kids activities and all those vendor booths to go to and food trucks. It's just a big party and live music all
So
day.
do you put it on, or does the city?
It's actually Anderson Seed and Garden. We do it.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
That's
so my wife and I
incredible.
came up with the idea a few years ago. We're working with the Utah Pumpkin Growers Association, and this will be the 3rd year that we've done it.
You know what Center Street reminds me of?
What?
A sweet Hallmark movie.
Oh, you know what?
Yep, it is.
We just planted
Isn't that
pansies
the
this
idea?
morning, and it's just like so colorful. You go
love it.
walk or you drive down Center Street, and
Yes.
it's just gorgeous.
You
It's
have
just
done
really fun.
an amazing job down there,
Thank you.
and really revitalizing
Yeah.
that whole
Yeah.
area. And I think a lot of it is owed to Anderson Seed.
It's a great place to be. It's a fun place to come hang out. There's always like beautiful flowers to take a look at
Yeah.
throughout the entire year. And then there's so many fun things we do in the wintertime as well too with the holiday celebration. I mean, we had fireworks down there last year.
Oh
so
my goodness!
Yeah, we had
And
fireworks. There was like a 10-minute fireworks
for
show.
the Pumpkin Festival?
Pumpkin Festival is the 27th of September.
Okay, so we're looking
27th of September. And we had
Perfect
people
harvest
coming from all over the place to see
Just
the
to come
pumpkins.
see the
Yeah,
pumpkins.
it's really, really fun.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, I love that. Okay, so much information, right? I mean, my mind is just like, whoa, I can't take it all in. But the good news is this guy has his own YouTube channel.
That's
and
what I was
you've
gonna
got
ask.
to check it out because you are sharing all of this information and then some on your YouTube channel. Tell us where we can
lots
find
of videos on there. So you can actually go to our website, andersonseedandgarden.com, and you can see a lot of the videos there. And then it's also Anderson Seed on YouTube too. So it's pretty easy to find us. Yeah, pretty easy to find us.
Okay,
But
and-
I told you how to do the carrots. I've got a video with me showing you exactly what I just told you.
yes,
And how to plant
okay.
potatoes, and how to plant onions, and how to plant corn. And I mean,
It takes you through all the things.
everything that you want to know, there's me on there just kind of walking you through the whole process.
Oh, I
Oh
like
my
that.
goodness.
It's fun.
Okay.
Very
it's-
instructional.
It's something
Okay,
you
he doesn't
all
have to come to my
have
house.
to check
No,
out.
I'll send you a link to the video.
That's
so-
right. Okay. Well, oh my goodness, this was so informative. I absolutely loved it. I loved your take on the giant carrots.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? We've got a giant carrot to share with you.
That sounds like fun.
Are you ready for
Let's
it?
do it. Yeah.
Okay. So Mark just showed us and talked to us about how to grow, and we're going to teach him how to sow. Coming up
Grow and
next.
sow.
We'll be right back. It was Binding and Book Club last week on Three Themes Live.
Listen, friends, what we learned was game-changing.
We learned how to calculate, prepare, miter, and join the ends of your binding.
We also found a ruler that makes adding type binding crazy easy.
This is awesome.
We talked about the book What the Wind Knows by Amy Harmon. Then we made an Irish chain cable topper inspired by the book. Come spend time with all your quilting and sewing friends by watching us live Monday through Wednesday at 1 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Eastern on YouTube or Facebook.
Each show is packed, so what are you waiting for? Use the links below to watch all of this and more. So watch Three Things Live, where we always have something to make you smile
Something to learn.
and something to discover.
Let's go! For someone out there who might not know what a jelly roll is,
40 individual pieces of fabric cut 2.5 inches wide from selvage to selvage. So I sew 2 together, and then we're just gonna put them right sides together
okay.
and sew down one side and the other. I'm gonna create kind of a tube. So you need that 45-degree line right on my stitch seam.
Stitch seam.
I'll just make my cut. And then I can just use the right angles. So I will just, when I'm going to make my next cut, just flip over. It's super easy. And then watch how this just
Oh my goodness.
pops open
Yes, I love that.
and you get 2 different looks from that tube.
Yes, I love that. everyone. Welcome back to Three Things Live. I'm Kris.
I'm Kyle.
And we've got Mark Anderson here with us from Anderson Seed and
Garden.
Garden. Okay, I want to make sure I'm saying that correctly.
We've had different names throughout the years.
Have
So,
you?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So when my grandmother started the store.
That's right.
In 1942.
Yeah.
So not many women had businesses in 1942.
No, that's incredible.
And she started on her own right in the same location on Center Street, right downtown. And it was called Logan Seed and Feed.
Yes.
So it was Logan Seed and Feed. And then in the 70s, we weren't doing, well, I actually changed it to Anderson Seed and Feed.
Okay.
That's
And
what I
then,
always
yeah,
remember.
so Anderson Seed and Feed. And then in the 80s, we kind of stopped doing all the feed part, and we changed it to Anderson Seed and Garden because we were doing a lot more gardens. So,
Okay.
so we have had 3 different names over the years.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
But you
Yeah, 3
answered
different
any
names.
of them?
We answered all of them, yeah. And many other names as
Yes,
well,
that's
too.
right.
So.
That's right. I love it. Wow. Well, so sewing, this is, you talked your language over there.
Yes,
Today we're going to
yes.
talk a little more about our
that
language.
sounds good.
But sewing is nothing new in your family,
Oh,
right?
absolutely not. No. It's like I grew up underneath the quilt at my
Oh, I
house.
love
You know, so
that.
it's like I grew up with, lots of quilts always at our house. It seemed like every week we had a quilt going on. And, as kids, you play under the quilts
Oh,
with
yes.
the toys and
Oh, yes.
Legos and, Lincoln Logs and, all that fun stuff.
It
Blocks.
was like your
and-
little fort.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. So my mom was always quilting. In fact, she passed away at 91, and she had done a bunch of quilts just in the last 4 or 5 years that she was alive. Oh
Really?
yeah, yeah. So she
Oh.
was still quilting just like all the way right up till the end. you know.
And,
my
and you
goodness.
probably
Blocks and-
still, have those quilts and enjoy them and are
Oh
reminded
yeah,
of
she wanted to
your
make sure
mom.
that everybody in the family, all the grandkids, all the great grandkids, everybody had a quilt.
Wow.
And so she had probably,
How wonderful.
I'd say probably 30 or so the last couple years that she was around, and everybody got to come and pick which one they wanted.
I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So everybody got to pick the one that they
is
wanted.
So sweet.
Yeah. So all my kids got one. All my brother and sister's kids got one, and a lot of the great grandkids did as well
so
too.
see, to all of
yeah.
you out there who are quilters, your family really will enjoy them for years to come.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Those are treasures that we will always have.
Most
We'll always
certainly.
have, and most of them don't get slept on.
We hope you're cuddled with them.
Yeah.
All
they don't
right.
get slept on. So.
Well, Mark, speaking of carrots, we thought it would be fun to do a little project with you today
Cool.
on growing our own carrots the quilt way. And so if we'll take a look at this, we're going to highlight, this is a table runner that is an MGQS exclusive. And our very own Nicole designed this for us, and I think it is absolutely
It's one of my
darling.
favorites.
It's really
yes,
cute.
isn't
Yeah,
that
it's
cute?
really cute. Yeah.
So here's your big carrot.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they're all big carrots. You just can't see the bottom part.
Exactly.
Yeah. But the best part about carrots is eating the carrots.
yes, yes,
so,
yes.
So
Well,
we want all of them to be pulled
They
out.
all have
so.
potential, right? They all have potential. So this is what we're doing. But one of the tools, rather than go through the entire process with you, I thought it might be interesting to show you a tool that we like to use around here that really makes the cutting so much easier.
Sounds good.
So do you see this little border right here?
Yes.
That's a lot of little squares
It
to
is a
cut
lot
out,
of little
isn't
squares, yes.
it? So I want to show you a really fast way
And look at how
to do
perfect
this.
they all are.
They are very symmetrical. I will
Ooh,
say
look at that big
symmetrical.
word.
Yes. Yeah. You don't use like a pair of scissors like we used to have in like
No,
kindergarten.
you're going to be amazed. In fact, your mom, she would be looking down right now and saying, "Wow,
Wow,
where
he's
was
doing
that
such a
tool
great
when
job.
I
Yeah.
when I needed it?" So basically, what we do is we're going to do strip piecing, is what it's called. So rather than cutting all these small 1.5-inch squares all on its own, we cut it into long strips, and then we subcut these. All right.
Okay.
So if we cut them at 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, and so forth, then we'll have squares that are sewn together to make that border.
Nice.
But here's the really cool trick here. Look at this contraption. Have you ever seen anything
I've never
like
seen
it?
one quite like that. I've seen
Yeah.
other cutting devices.
It's one of my
so-
favorites now.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, this is called the Stripology Ruler, and you'll see that there are some slits that are in here, and this
Yes.
is going to make cutting so simple.
The Stripology Ruler.
The
huh?
Stripology Ruler, that's
right.
right. So I'm going to just place this right down here, and you have our markings here, 1,
Okay.
1.5, or excuse me, 1, that's the half.
Yeah, 1.5,
The 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, so forth. So all you have to do is we're doing it at every 1.5 inch increment.
Because that's what each of the strips are.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to
And
go
I-
ahead and
I have
let
used
you.
one of these before.
Have you?
I have used
All
one of these before,
right.
yeah. So we're cutting it 1.5.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
And see how it
Yep.
just is going to slide
Let's see
right
if I
in
go
there.
right in there. Oh, there we go.
You're so
Nice.
good.
All right, and then we would go at 3.
Yes, and
I
you
have
don't
to
have to
count.
lift up your
I want
ruler.
to go 4.5. See, I can even count. That's 6.
Wow.
There you go. Not
Nice.
too bad.
Not too bad. And you would do
7.5.
that all the way down. Let's see.
That is definitely faster.
Isn't that
Yeah.
faster?
And they're all perfect.
I'm
That's
sure we
what
could
I
come
love.
up with some good puns for the stripology thing. So.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So then you have these squares, and we just match them up like a little checkerboard, if you will.
Cool.
Just a little
at that.
pattern right here. And you're just going to sew all these together and create 2 rows. You know, you would start
is
this
awesome.
way. Let me come down here.
See, I
and
can
so
even,
forth.
I
what
can
do you
even
think
do
about
I
that?
could even do that.
Could you?
Yeah, it's really not too bad. Yeah,
that's not too bad, right? All right, so that is one tip for you all is pick up that Stripology ruler because it makes things so super fast. Now, the other tip that I want to share when creating this, let's take a look once again. Let's take a look at our really nice tall carrot. In fact, we like to call them skyscraper carrots around here. And this is kind of an odd angle to be sewing at, isn't it, Kyle?
Why is it called a skyscraper carrot?
Yeah, thus the skyscraper carrot. It's nice and tall. it's coming out of nowhere. And so there is a little trick to this that I wanted to be able to show. So let's go ahead and do that.
Do we get to use
Grab
the Stripology ruler again?
Not yet,
dang it.
but really soon, I promise. We're going to do the next one with the Stripology ruler. So I want to point out that this is the base of the carrot. Doesn't quite look like what we just saw yet. I started out with 1.5 inch squares that you sew diagonal to diagonal, and then you flip them over. So that's a basic, what we call flip and fold in quilting terms. Now, how do we get the background blocks to be at an angle? Well, here's the trick. What I'm gonna do is fold this in half to find the center and do what's called a little finger press right here, just so that I have a marking. And then from there, I can take a pin and a ruler, which I had a pin somewhere.
And there's a ruler.
There's the ruler.
This is kind of like making paper airplanes.
Oh, yeah.
I
It's
like
exactly
that.
the
That
same.
works,
Yeah, slightly
sure.
different concept, but pretty much the same.
And we're going to go from this outer point here of the square, and we're going to draw a line down to the center there.
You slid that really
You
well.
see that?
I would slide it and it would be crooked. Yeah, it would be crooked. I can tell you've done that before.
Lots and lots of practice, right?
Yeah.
So
You could take a longer ruler.
I could take a longer
Yes,
ruler,
but-
absolutely.
You know
But you're
what?
doing it right to the point.
Slide right to the point. Okay, so now that's starting to resemble a carrot, isn't it?
It does kind of look carroty.
It does. So then we are going to take our rectangle blocks and we just place them just lining up right against that line.
Okay.
And then we sew a 1/4 inch and flip it out. So Kyle, do you want
Yay.
to do the pleasure of
You get to do the sewing.
creating this?
All right.
Oh, but
will.
you just wait.
You're the expert sewing person.
Oh, yes.
Yes, she is.
Absolutely.
But you hold out. You might be at that sewing
Maybe.
machine here in
All
a
right,
few
we'll
minutes.
check it out.
Kris, I have a question.
Yes.
Am I putting that cream color right on the line?
Yes, right on the
Okay.
line.
And I'm going past.
Exactly. Yep. So you're kind of centering it on there, and then you want to line up your presser foot against the outer edge and
Okay.
sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance.
All right, let's see if I can do that.
You got this, Kyle.
Yeah. Are you
All right.
impressed?
I find that terrifying, but
You
All
should.
right, let's
I
pull
know.
this
It's
out.
like, well, I
Let's
don't think
take a
I'll put my
look.
finger in there.
No.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'll pass.
There, look at that. We got.
She is
half a
amazing. She is
carrot.
amazing.
She is amazing.
I think she's a keeper.
Yeah, oh, she is.
You can come more.
We tell her she's like a genius.
There we go.
So then we take this second piece right here, and I'm just putting it right against that line, and go ahead and do the magic, Kyle.
Okay. Voila. please work out.
Please work the way it's supposed to.
Oh, it's
right?
going to. No doubt about it.
Yep.
This is such a cool way of being able to get some angles that you normally would be a little more difficult to get.
Yeah, I don't think I could do the math to get that angle.
This is kind of like when I do classes and we're doing like demonstrations, and I've done it like 100 times, but then you do it the one time, and then it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. You're like, oh my gosh, it's supposed to.
We
like
have no idea what you're talking about.
You've never had that happen before.
No.
Yeah, no.
All right,
Perfect.
it
Best laid
happens to
plans.
the best of us,
Best
right?
laid
Look
plans.
at that, Kyle.
That is super cute.
Nice.
Look at that,
It looks
Mark.
like a
We've got a
carrot.
carrot. Now what do we do? It's not
Now
an
we gotta trim
airplane.
it.
It looks kind of carroty.
Yeah.
It looks
look
like
too
it, but
great.
it looks a little ski-wampus, like it's going to take off on a, on a magic carpet ride or something. So here we go. We're going to flip it over. And Mark, do you want to do the honors of trimming this?
Ooh, I would love
up?
to trim.
Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take the ruler, and because this has to end up being 4.5 by 8.5.
Okay.
We want to use this as our template, and we
okay.
just trim this
So we're going
off.
to trim the white off.
We are going to
Okay.
trim the white off. Now, the thing to be very careful about here is that you want to hold a steady hand
Okay.
right here. Please do not cut yourself on camera.
I will try.
No.
I will try my best. Okay. All right.
And
So
you
we're going to
just
go
trim
like
that
right
up.
along the edge.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then you'll just move.
And then slide it up. I should have grabbed a bigger ruler,
Oh,
but
well.
that's okay.
This is good practice.
He's doing great.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
That's impressive.
Look at
Not
that.
too
Yep,
shabby.
not
Okay.
too shabby at all. Go
Do
ahead
that
and
bottom section.
Yeah.
I won't even have to move the ruler this time.
let's move this up just a little bit so they can see.
There we go.
There we go.
All right. You know the special positioning of all the stuff, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Ta-da! And one more.
And your little cutter works awesome.
We
Look
should have had
at
the
that.
rotating mat.
I should have grabbed that. Yes. So we have a rotating mat that you don't have to rotate the fabric, but you rotate the mat, and it
That works.
works pretty slick.
All right.
Okay, let's
all
take a
the
look.
tools
Oh,
to
just
make it
one
That was a
even
double
better.
right there, yeah.
Oh yeah. It's all about the tools, isn't it, Mark?
Yes.
There we go.
Definitely.
All right.
Okay.
And there we go, folks. We have
Not
a
too
carrot.
shabby.
That
Yay.
wasn't too bad, right?
No.
A little sad right there. But
You know what? Here's the best news of all. We can trim that up, but we now have a 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides so that when we sew it into the next block,
You're not even going to see
we're
it.
going to have a perfect corner.
oh, nice.
Right there,
Okay.
perfect right there, and
Good.
so forth. So it is just a wonderful, wonderful tool to be thinking about. Well, more of a technique to think about of how you can create those diagonal lines very, very easily. What do you think?
That was super easy.
I can grow
I know.
that carrot.
I can even do that. Yeah, I can even do that. And I've like
right.
sewed 5 stitches in my entire life. So yeah.
Well, guess what, Mark? You're about ready to stitch
Are we gonna
some
do some more?
more.
All right.
So he's done 5 stitches, but how about, I don't know, 55? Let's see what happens.
see what we can do.
So stick
I
around
can
for
slow
theme
this
number
down.
3.
Yeah, that might be a good
Because-
thing. Yeah, that might be a good thing.
Put him at the sewing machine. It's going to be fantastic. All right, we'll be back right after this.
So watch Three Things Live, where we always have something to make you smile
Something to learn.
and something to discover.
Let's go.
We're going to show you how this wonky binding goes on. I would just stitch this right here and stitch about 1/8 of an inch down to about there. And then this corner will end up being just like the others. I'll sew up to 1/4 inch and then I will fold it back so that it is going to go even with this and then back over. Okay. Now this is the part where you think, oh, this is so tricky, so hard. When I get to this corner, I'm going to pivot my quilt and I'm just gonna take it like this under the needle, pull that, and try and sew a straight line across here. This is kind of what I have, kind of this going on. So let's look at it. And so this would be a mitered corner on this top. So this corner goes like this. Up here, this one flips over like that. Now what do I do
now what?
there? So I just kind of tuck it there and then we'll keep sewing it
And then you just keep
that way.
Hey friends, tune in Wednesday, March 26th. Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden will be on Three Themes Live.
He'll share gardening tips you don't want to miss.
Let's go! welcome back everyone to Three Things Live. We're here with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden here locally, and he's been teaching us all kinds of things today about growing carrots and some other vegetables, and we've been teaching him a little bit about our neck of the woods, which is some sewing.
Oh, and stripology squares. Yes.
Oh, look at that. He picks up so fast, so fast.
If it's got a catchy name, I'll get it like every time.
That's
so.
right. So we have a wonderful little pattern for you that you can find if you are looking to make the carrot table runner, carrot tops table topper. Say that 10 times fast.
Carrots top
Carrot
table topper.
tops table topper. Take a look right down here. You can find this pattern. Again, it's an MGQS exclusive, and you can find it on our website at mygirlfriendsquiltshop.com. And you know what? Download it today. Start making it today. It's that simple to do. And honestly, it'll take you maybe a couple hours, and you will have it done in no time at all.
It's really cute. I have to admit, it's darling. So yeah.
He used the word darling.
He can come back.
Your wife has taught you well, hasn't she?
I have an extensive vocabulary.
Yeah. That's right. When if she ever brings something to you, you always say, "That is the cutest thing I've ever seen."
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, there you
And
go.
we do that with his plants too.
Yes.
That's
yes.
right.
And we do have lots of cute plants right now.
Oh,
so,
yes.
Lots of cute plants.
Well, let's talk about skyscraper carrots, shall we?
No.
Do you want to go ahead and grab that
I'll check
one
that
right
out.
there? This is our version of a very, very tall carrot. What do you think?
That is a big carrot.
It is, isn't
yeah, it's
it?
a big carrot.
And it's pretty
It's
darn
made with
cute.
love, so it tastes
It's
good.
kind of cute. Yeah. It's kinda cute.
You know what? Remember a year ago when we were with him and he said the secret ingredient was
Love.
Was love. I don't know if you remember saying
I do
that.
remember that.
But
yeah,
I've
we were
never
ta- we were-
forgotten.
We were talking about that.
I
so.
speak with great love to
Yeah.
all my plants and say, it's okay. I got you,
Well-
little bud.
Well, when I go and teach classes about gardening, we talk about, plants have all these needs.
Yeah.
They need water, they need fertilizer, they need soil, they need sun. But to really reach their full potential, we use love to apply all those things in the correct amounts. So
Exactly.
it's very important.
Oh my
important
goodness.
part of gardening.
The drought and
I
the
love
not
that.
drought is not good for
Well,
them.
if you love the plants right, you're giving them the right amount of fertilizer, the right amount of water, because if they don't get what they need, they don't reach their full potential. And then we get upset with the plants because they don't give us what we want. Because if
Absolutely.
we're planting something and it's a tree, we want shade from it. If it's a flower, we want it to be beautiful. If it's a vegetable, we want to eat it. Maybe it's a shrub we want to put down the side of our house so we don't have to look at our neighbor's derelict cars there. I mean, we plant plants for a reason.
reasons.
Yeah, but if they don't give us what we want, then we get upset with them. But in most cases, we're not giving the plants what they need to reach their full potential.
man.
So if you give them what they need, then they will give you what
You
you
know,
want.
Life
Yeah.
according to Mark. I think you should write a book.
I have
I'm
written a
just
couple
saying.
books. Yeah, but they're more like instructional. This is exactly how you do
Okay,
it.
now
Kinda
I want
like
you
your
to do
like
life
your
lessons.
carrot.
Will you do it? Will you co-author a book with me? We'll talk about life lessons.
We could do it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so many things you learn when you're gardening and when
so
you're quilting.
true.
It's like it's very applicable
It
to
goes
like
hand in
everything.
hand.
Yeah,
It really
absolutely.
does.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go ahead and make some of these carrots, shall we?
Let's do it.
Because I know how much you loved that
I'm good
Stripology
at cutting.
Ruler.
I'm
We're
good at
going to do
cutting,
this
so
again.
we can cut some more. Yeah.
Now, the great thing about this kind of a project is it uses all the scraps. Give me all the scraps. We're going to throw them together, and we're going to put them into a darling skyscraper carrot. So here's one example of just something that you might have in your stash. We're going to go ahead and take that Stripology ruler once again, and this time, Mark, we're going to cut them into 2.5-inch squares.
Oh, now I have to do more math.
I know.
2.5
Yeah.
inches. I don't know if
I'm
I'll be
glad
able to
that's
manage. Yeah, we'll try.
Oh,
so
look
we're
at
gonna
him. He's
are
right
we
on
cutting
it.
like all the way down through?
Yep, all
okay,
the way
I'm gonna
down
get a little
through.
bit more leverage this time.
Ooh,
so.
good idea.
All right, we're gonna go 5.
I like the fact that you can go down below it.
Yes.
And let's see, 7.5
Good.
would be correct. So yeah,
I always do
want to
the
make
1,
sure
2,
we get
3,
the
1,
right
2, 3.
spot. Okay,
And
all
you
right.
would just continue down, over and over. And so, again, just like we did with the border on that carrot topper, the same thing applies here is that you're just cutting all these squares so much quicker. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this.
Now, did you fold it so we'd get like more cuts
I
out of it?
did, yeah,
okay.
so that you could get more cuts rather than one at a time. And let's go ahead, because we have the fold here, we're not starting at a clean edge. So I'm actually just going to place this at a clean edge. Okay, well, you know what? Let's do this first. Let's go ahead and trim that up.
Okay.
All right.
So we're trimming right there.
Yeah, just to trim off those edges. There we go.
There we go.
All right, now at this point, we can start making our 2.5-inch
Okay.
squares again. So I'm going to
Did
lift
you
this
line
up.
that up on the bottom or the top? What do you do?
Yeah, you kind of have a line going to the left and back
Okay.
down through the bottom.
Okay.
So,
So we'll do our 2.5s again.
yeah. Nice.
See, I'm getting
Look at how
fast. I'm getting
easy he's
faster as
getting
we
it in
go.
there.
Yeah,
It's getting more and more
It's getting
confident.
faster as we go.
Okay,
All right,
so
let's see
take
how
a
we
look.
did. Yeah, let's see how we
Look
did.
at that. He even closes the blade.
Look at
Well,
that,
I don't want to cut
folks.
anybody with it. you
Good
know.
idea.
I prefer
Look-
not to
look
have
at
any
that,
bleeding
Mark.
on the show today.
All of those squares have been so
Nice.
quickly
Those look
cut. And you would
Nice.
do that with all kinds of scraps. So here's this great little item that we have that we want everyone to be able to discover, and that is the easy piecing grid. Now, let me go ahead and, can we see that very well? You know what, I'm gonna bring a white piece of paper underneath here. So what you do is you're going to take these scraps and you just start placing them
What
randomly.
side is the right side?
Well, we want to put them where the fusible is.
Bumpy is?
Okay, where the bumpy is. And so make sure you do that. And then you just randomly put them in all different places. Now, we've done a step out of that for today. So you can see here that Kyle already placed hers on some squares, and see how scrappy that is? But guess what? Instead of having to do one little square at a time, because this is called easy piecing grid, look what happens, Mark.
It's like the easy peasy grid.
It kind of is.
Did you get the pun? The peasy?
The peasy. P-E-A, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Since we're talking
I
vegetables
love the
today.
gardening puns.
Yeah, since
yeah.
we're talking vegetables today. Yep.
And so all you do is you sew the entire line, again, rather than one square at a time. It's fantastic. So, are you ready to
Okay.
switch seats
Show
with
me that
Kyle?
again because I didn't quite get the one
Okay.
square at a time part. So
So normally, we would take 2 squares,
right.
and we would sew, and then we'd have to, stop,
Yep,
and then
and
do
then,
another
like,
2 squares,
fold them
another
over, yeah.
2 squares, and so forth. But this method, we can do oodles of squares all at one time. Now, this is just a small sampling, but normally you would have one big giant panel
Sure.
that is filled with squares.
And so you can do like a whole bunch all at once.
Exactly, exactly. And so all you have to do is fold it over, and then you just sew all the way down.
So you do one across this way to get them to stay in place.
Yes,
and then you do another one
we
other
do the
direction to get it to stay-
opposite way.
Okay, got it,
Exactly.
got it.
So let's see where
So,
we're at
so
here.
when you do the first row, does Kyle get to hold all the stuff down while you do the first sewing,
Yeah,
or
you know what?
how does that
I'm-
work?
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
I didn't even think to mention.
I'm like, okay, well,
you
I
do
get-
have to iron it.
Oh, okay. So you iron it. Oh, so
the
it kind of like it
fusible
kind of
is a
sticks together.
glue. Yes.
All
yes.
right. So you don't need Kyle to lay on top of it to
No,
keep
no,
it
no,
in
no.
place.
Well, I'm glad you asked. But I will tell you,
I knew you were good for something.
Kyle,
Something.
Kyle has a little tip she wants to share.
I do, because I've done it without this little glue.
Yes.
And I end up with bare spots because they fall right off as
Yep,
I'm
exactly.
bringing it over to the
the
hook.
iron.
That was my concern
Yeah.
because it's like if I'm sewing and they're all falling off, then I'm like, then I'm.
So all I have to do is just do just a little dab.
It's purple.
Okay.
Yep.
And
Yep, that's purple.
and it dries clear.
Yes.
It dries clear.
And it'll wash out.
Well,
Yes.
purple's nice because you can see where you've
Yes,
like,
exactly.
done your
So
glue.
see, you put
Look
your
how good
little
that stayed.
pieces, it stays, and then you take it to the ironing board and you put an iron over top, and it fuses it all together.
Gotcha.
So I'm
and these are
so
so
glad
close
you
together
asked
that
about
you don't have to worry about your iron in between.
Right.
Okay.
On the
Okay.
edges
Gotcha.
you do.
So now what I'm going to have you do is let's go ahead again. We just fold it over on that line, directly on that line. See right here?
Yes.
And you're just going to line up your presser foot on
What
that
is a presser
line.
foot?
Okay, let's take a look and we'll show you. So
okay.
Kyle, do you
All
want
right.
to point that out to him?
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Your
I'm coming
presser
over.
foot
I'm
is
coming
on the
over here.
machine.
Teach you.
Okay.
This is your presser foot.
Ah, that's the presser foot.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And when she told me to line it up on the edge of the presser foot, I bring it in here.
Yeah.
And you can put this down. I always do this one. And see, I'm a little bit off,
Yes.
so I'm just gonna bring it up again. Oh, I cut it, I did the scissors. So now it's right there, but also we have lines on here.
So we want on like a quarter of an inch.
And I slowed the machine down for you.
That is probably a very good thing. Does it like grab and pull it in as it goes?
It
or do
does,
I
so
have to
don't-
kind of like
it
I don't
does.
want to
Don't
like
struggle
feed it.
with it.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll just
all
go
right,
in.
so we're gonna
There's
go.
a thing
So we
on the
keep-
machine called feed dogs.
So do we
and the
keep
feed
that
dogs
like on
pull it.
the quarter inch right
Right.
there? All right, so we'll try it.
You see your needle is in a little ways?
I do see that that's in.
Okay. Now, one thing that we do on the second pass, we sew them all on one way, and then when we go to the second way, we need to snip.
Okay.
Chris will talk about that.
What's the snipping part?
Yep, that's good.
Okay, just like that.
Yeah, and now you can cut your
Oh, then
thread.
we cut it.
We're fancy.
Nifty. Oh.
Okay,
look at
look, that wasn't too bad, right?
Look at that. You did
did
it.
it.
I think that was pretty professional. So
yeah,
look,
it is.
Look how straight that
I'm
line
very
is.
impressed.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
Very
Okay.
impressed.
Okay,
I
now what are
love
we doing
that.
to it?
You're having so much fun, you just want to keep going, right?
Well, yeah, it's like where are we going next? Yeah.
All right,
All
we'll go ahead and bring this back over. So you would do this all the way across both directions. After you go one direction, when she talks about snipping, let's see if we can get up close of this. Here's your seam allowance. You're just going to do a little snip with the scissors right in there. That's just going to help everything to lay nice and flat. All right, so at this point, we're going to pretend that we have the whole panel covered, and take a look at this. Kyle has already cut it into a triangle. So all the instructions are found on the downloadable pattern.
And it's
so don't worry about that.
so easy.
But this is how quick and easy this comes together. All you have to do is, once it's in a triangle, you're gonna just fold it with right sides together, and then you would take it again to the sewing machine, sew all the way down here, turn it right side out, and you have a carrot, my friend. And that might actually be a little bit faster than the real thing.
It probably
think
is
so.
a lot faster because it only takes like 75 days to grow a real
This
carrot.
is not going to take you 75 days, folks. I promise.
Dang it, that is a lot faster. I have
But
to
it's
admit,
so
yeah.
cute, but it's not as yummy.
I was gonna say it's not as delicious. Yeah.
Exactly.
Or nutritious.
Yes.
But
But it makes me feel good.
it is eye candy.
Yes,
so
it
so
is.
we could say it does
And then
taste pretty good.
this is just like, I went down to the, just to the Hobby Lobby store
Yeah.
and went into their greenery department and said, what looks like carrot tops?
That's pretty close.
And you just
Yeah,
poke
that's
it
pretty
in, and
close.
they're just
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
cute.
fun. So it really does make
Okay.
a statement.
So you sew it inside out, and then you like
Turn
turn
it
it
right
back
side out,
inside,
and then you stuff it.
and you stuff it full of stuff. Okay, very cool.
You got it.
That's really cute.
You got it.
Yeah.
So very, very fun. You know what? I think maybe we should send a set of these down to your shop.
Yeah.
That
For
would be awesome.
decoration. Would you
I've got,
like that?
I've got a spot for them.
Okay.
I have a special
I
spot
see.
for them.
We'll have to do that because I just think they're so fun.
They are super cute.
And they're just as cute as ever. And if you would like the pattern on how to do exactly these things step by step, you can find it at mygirlfriendsquiltshop.com.
Can I tell you one thing?
Yes.
With the whole panel, you're going to get 2 smaller carrots that you can make
That
from
is
it.
true. Yes,
Yes.
yes. So you get 1 big one and 2 small ones out of 1 panel.
Right.
So you can find everything that you need to make these Skyscraper Carrots at our website, and you can find the downloadable pattern there as well. And that downloadable pattern is also available for free in the club.
That club.
Oh, you gotta love that. All right, friends. Well, that wraps things up for us today. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, Mark.
You're so welcome.
This was great
It was a
fun
blast.
to have
That's,
you.
that's so much fun. Yeah, we'll have to sew together again.
Yes,
Okay, we'll
yes.
have a sewing bee.
And we're going to have to check out that pumpkin festival, Kyle.
I'm
So
going.
much
Yeah.
fun.
I'm going.
So much fun.
I think it's great. Hey, before we sign off today, we want to remind you that our MGQS Book Club is right around the corner. It's happening again here in just a couple of months. We want to give you plenty of time to read the next book. What is it? It's West with Giraffes by Linda Rutledge. You can find that at your local bookstore or find online, but definitely follow along with us and let's read it together. It's based on a true story that about 2 giraffes that were taken from Hurricane Florida all the way out west to San Diego, California, back in the 1930s, just during the time of the Great Depression. It's a fascinating story, again, based on real events, that is just going to blow you away. Now, it has some fictional characters in there, which also makes the story very, very exciting. So definitely read that along with us, because we are not only going to discuss that book on Three Themes Live, but we also have a wonderful, wonderful project that you are absolutely going to love, based and inspired on the book. So I can't wait for you to see that. All right, friends. Thank you, Kay. She said, I've been thinking of today's episode all week, and she's very excited to make these. We appreciate that, Kay. And if this is an episode that you think your friends would enjoy, please do us a favor and share it. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure that you're the first to know when a new video drops. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day. Let's get growing, shall we?
Let's grow.
It's time to do it.
It is.
We're not too late,
Doesn't get any better.
and
Perfect time to start
time
planting.
is now.
Yep.
Even though we're
You
going to
got
have
it.
snow?
Even though we get snow, you can still get all your cool crops in, like
Okay.
right now.
Okay, I will.
Let's do
Onions are
it.
going in this week.
Yeah.
I know. The fun begins.
Let the fun begin. All right, everyone. Let's grow. Let's sow. We'll see you later. See you soon.